Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center. We're certainly very grateful to um, Buff State, to our producer, Greg Harvey. Thank you so much, Greg.
You're welcome.
And we are on WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative radio station, coming out of Buff State. We're very grateful to our friends at WBNY for this opportunity to bring you all the information that we will. We're also grateful to our friends at Think Twice Radio, Richard Wicca and Think Twice Radio, which also produces this show at times. So we're again grateful to the people at Think Twice Radio and in the home of the future. When I think of thankfulness, I do think of our Indigenous friends, and in fact, BIPOC people and Black people of color, Indigenous people who have been suffering such hardship and victimization, racism, and all kinds of oppression. And in spite of that, they are still filled with gratitude. So, Indigenous people, which of course we are on stolen Haudenosaunee land, stolen from the Seneca, or as they call themselves, the Anondawaka, and they still start every gathering with the words that come before all else, which are those words of thankfulness that are thanking the people who make the gathering possible, thanking Mother Earth for giving us everything we need for a good life here on this earth, um, and the living waters. Mini Wachoni, water is life. So beautiful, so important, so vital to life itself. And then, of course, all the wonderful plants and animals, the medicinal and nutritional plants, and the knowers of the plants, and then the wonderful animals of all kinds, the swimming, crawling, four-legged and flying creatures, and then, of course, the wonderful uh, trees that give us so much, that help the world, help us, that supply the very air we breathe, and so much beauty, and together, holding things together. And then we also are grateful for all the leaders who make so much work possible, the leaders and teachers, and of course the creator and the love that animates it all. And so then they would say Nyahweh, and the people say no. So Nyahweh.
Yo.
Yahweh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for saying no. So we have a very important show today. We're so grateful to Greg for producing it remotely. Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
And it's so important because there's been just a huge amount of things going on. Even if you're ignoring the news, you can't help it filtering in, because the attack on Venezuela, the kidnapping of the um, the the country's leaders, um, the the massive military buildup. So our program today is about the kickoff to our campaign, the Western New York Peace Center campaign, that is Stop U.S. Military Aggression. It will kick off on Saturday the 17th, and that is the National Day of Action for No War on Venezuela. And we also have a subtext which is equally important and totally relevant. I almost wish we called this the main title of the campaign, is Stop Government Sponsored Violence. Stop Government Sponsored Violence, because of all the ICE, the murders by ICE with impunity, the violence and kidnapping that's going on, and not of course, very heavily involved in that is violence that is done by police or the sheriff's departments, and in the carceral system, the prison system, where there's a huge amount of violence that is visited on inmates, sometimes by each other, and also very prominently by the corrections officers, or some of the corrections officers, in a very everyday kind of a way. So it's very shocking, very upsetting, and very much things that we need to stand up against, because they're only getting worse. So I'm very thrilled to have with us. Of course, I did say that Greg is here. Thank you, Greg. thank you for all you do. I know you have your Bills gear on. It is Victory Monday.
That's right.
So, yeah, so we can be happy about that victory and all the victories to come. Um, we've got plenty to make happen. And so we also have friend of the show, Jim Anderson. Jim, the Radio King. I know that's not your title, but you're given one of your many titles. Also, the president of Peace Action New York State and the co-chair of National Peace Action. So, Jim, welcome. Oh, and you're still, ex officio board member at the Western New York Peace Center and just doing wonderful work all the time. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, we're so grateful to have you here. And last but not least, Jess Greenwald. Jess, it's so good to have you on. I'd almost say you bring your baby on too. They always, I mean, it's all about the babies lots of time, and it's all about the future that we want to make for them. So, Jess, we're grateful for the founding that you've done of the Erie County. It's called Erie County Women. Erie County Women.
It's called Erie County Women United, which is a group that I co-founded with one of my friends, and then we also organized for the Western New York Bridge Brigade as well.
Very grateful for all the work that both those groups are doing, which we'll get into plenty of that because it's back to stopping state-sponsored violence or government-sponsored violence is what I want to call it. It's not actually the states. We're lucky enough to be in New York State where at least there's some pushback from the craziness at the helm of this country. So,
yeah, I think in a lot of ways it's all, intertwined, and I'm really excited and thankful to be here. And I am so flattered that you asked us. So thank you for having us for
we're all in this together, and we're allies and partners in this. So before we go any further, we're going to do what we usually do, which is to just say, when we think of, I'll say both this: stop U.S. military aggression and stop government-sponsored violence, and we can include no war on Venezuela. Or no occupation of Venezuela is what I'd like to say. So when you think of those things, what are the values that you think of? And so, true to a talking circle, I'm gonna give you, Greg, then we'll let you off the hook, but we'll give you the first crack at this, So what are the values you think of when you think of all that?
Well, I definitely think that our current administration is overstepping bounds, both domestically and internationally. And that in and of itself says a lot and needs to stop.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, that stepping out of bounds, doing things that are illegal, clearly illegal under international law, is just got to stop. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. That's international law and, staying, true to that. So thank you. Jim, what are the values you're thinking of?
Oh, well, I was going to pass it to Jess so I could relax. Well, quite honestly, I was sitting here saying, I'm thinking of Helen Keller. There's a quote attributed to Helen Keller, which for me makes this moment so. The paraphrase, she says, I rejoice that I live in such a splendid, disturbing time. And to hear that, it's like, what? You're glad to live? I feel that way because I think about all that I've learned growing up, that one day there'll be times when you have to stand alone, that one day when there's right or wrong, you will have to pick a side. And, and you go through life learning how to be strong enough to stand on what you believe and what is right. And you learn, as one book said, everything I needed to know, and I learned in kindergarten. You learn how to be nice. Thank you. Excuse me.
Right.
And so we know that, and now we have to use our knowledge of that to push out, sweep out the dirt, the wrong. And some people have become afraid because they think that the dirt is stronger than the broom of the people. and that's where you see the biggest signs of the police, whether it's in media, whether it's in reality, any kind of movie, where they're playing hard, where the image of being incarcerated or even being approached by police is supposed to make you shake. And there are a lot of people shaking. And those are the people we got to help them to understand, no, we're going to win this thing. And we're going to win it because the more this type of administration become evil, it's a sign that they know they're losing. The more evil they get is a sign that they feel something pushing back, and they're in a panic. And we just got to help each other understand that there'll be pain in this moment, but we know that, right? And we're not supposed to run from it. And we're not Superman, but we're supposed to do the best we can. And I think we are in every area. And it don't mean necessarily putting up your duke. Sometimes it means serving soup to somebody. Sometimes it means giving somebody an extra coat that you see laying on the ground. They don't have anything on. So I feel good. And it's folks like ourselves. I mean, in this moment, the aura of people around you who like electric, it makes your vibes move too. And that's what we need. And then, we need that going.
Well, thank you for all that encouragement, Jim, and that value that, that we should relish, be, that Helen Keller quote. I want to say Helen Keller was so close to my heart because my sister was a paraplegic and technically a quadriplegic, in a wheelchair all her life. So Helen Keller was always a big deal in our family, and that courage that she had, and in spite of, not being able to see or hear. So anyway, that's such, we are the people we've been waiting for. So we're doing it. We need to do it, and we are doing it, and we've got all that good energy and collaboration, and crisis equal to opportunity. So thank you for all of that encouragement, Jim. Thank you so much. And Jess, what are some values that you think of?
I think for me, the biggest things that come to mind definitely is the powers of togetherness and community, and just how resilient the human spirit is. I think a lot of people, with the events of this past week and what's been going on in Minneapolis, are just starting to wake up and, are unfortunately a little behind the times, but better late than never. And it's a scary time for a lot of people, but we can definitely come together and make changes to have this country and our communities be what we were always told that it was. Even though, as you come to learn more about the world and history, you see that, maybe the things that you were told aren't necessarily true with the version of events that actually happened. But I believe personally that we can get there, and that it's going to take all of us, and it's going to take people, showing up who are scared. I think that there's roles for every single person, whether it be protesting or handing out soup like you're talking about. And I think that we're going to really see just how powerful we can be when we combine. And that's something that we're going to keep working towards. And the antidote to despair is action, right? And I think that's something that the more of us do and amplify our voices, it makes it less scary for everyone. And we can start to feel a little bit more hopeful about the futures that we see for ourselves and our children.
Yes, so important. So yeah, that togetherness, that team spirit, that working together and collaborating, communicating and collaborating to make the progress that we need to make. So important. And I really appreciate that both of you really amplified the fact that there's so much to do, and it's not just getting out in the street. Certainly that's part of it, and we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the campaign that we're starting, but there's lots of pieces. So being out in the street is one of them. It's a significant one of them, but there's also just helping each other, spelling each other off, babysitting each other's kids, bringing food to people who need it, or giving food to people who don't have it. helping each other and defending each other, which is what a lot of what's been going on. So when we think about what's been going on, just let's say in the past week or weeks over the holidays, but despite the fact that, there's all the ramp up that's been the past year of the first year of the second Trump regime, there is just such a lot to be so very concerned about. And so I want to start right off with the campaign, because really what we're going to talk about right now is some of the opportunities people have to do something about what's going on. And actually, I hope, I'm not sure whether you've seen our flyer yet, Greg, but Jim just actually I've been sick, so I had to miss. We had a great gathering of the Buffalo United Coalition, and Jim was emceeing there and really led the charge of telling about this campaign that we're unrolling that has the kickoff on Saturday the 17th at 3 p.m. in Niagara Square. It'll be short. It'll be an hour. I think, just by the way, I can't help mentioning that we don't know the Bill's schedule. I don't know. Some people might have a little more of an insight, but I've heard that it'll either be 4:30 or 7 something. So it should be good, but we've made it. And thank you, Jess, for adding that into the chat so that Greg can see it if you want to. So this campaign that we've come up with is really pretty involved. There's a number of teach-ins, shorter ones and longer ones. There's a bunch of visits to different elected officials' offices, but it starts right off with the gathering that we're going to have on the National Day of Action for the War on Venezuela. And so I want to really focus on that and the importance of that as just a kickoff to help people see that there are things that people can do. And for the people who can't go to that campaign, you are welcome to just start calling and emailing relentlessly, our elected officials, to make them understand. Now, the Democrats have voted in favor of a War Powers Act, but, the president cannot go into war. It is our law that Congress, only the Congress has the power to decide to go to war. Well, there have been so many illegal acts in that respect, and it's only gotten worse and worse. So I'll just, actually, if you want to have a first crack at it, you did mention that right off the top, Greg, about the fact that the attacks on Venezuela were outside of international law. If you want to say anything about that, and then we'll turn it to Jim.
Well, I can't think of anything more other than to say, stop it and get out, and whatever. If we have anybody in there now, get them out, and don't put anybody else in if we do.
Right. No, you're so right. Well, those attacks on the ships that, the claims, false claims that there's no reason to think, there was no evidence given that there was anything to do with drugs. It was just, and then Trump has come out and said, it's about the oil. We're taking the oil. We're redistribute the oil, all of that. So, Jim, what would you like to say about
I say that, and that's the thing, that the media and everything will keep us, will keep rolling this. But I think we have to take a higher ground on our thinking about this situation. We can't immediately stop it, just, with our rallying and stuff. And so we have to get our focus on, so what are the targets that can move on some of our behalf? And one of them is our lousy Congressman, Tim Kennedy, who has yet to hold a town hall and talk to us about foreign policy. Here's a congressman who won't meet with his constituents, but will take money from AIPAC, the American Israel political action committee, go have a little summer vacation with them at their summer school. That's what I'll call it. You go to summer school with AIPAC, come back, still don't talk to his community about foreign policy and the votes, the bills he have to vote on, and then has the nerve to take more money from AIPAC. I wonder what mission they got him on now, because it's certainly not serving the people. He had the audacity, his office, his chief of staff, had the audacity to say that the reason that Congressman Tim Kennedy went to Israel, because he felt, he said, where else could he have more impact but to look the mayor of Israel in the face and talk to him there, you know, and meeting with the Zionists there. And the simple, it shows how he's trying to fake people out and bamboozle us with his comment. Because the reality for Congressman Tim Kennedy is that you're a U.S. congressman. You're supposed to be in Congress voting on the bills that are up, and you're supposed to be interacting with your constituents. You don't spend no money to come to us. It's free. But you won't even tell us what you're doing. So that's one of our problems. And people need to make that a target, and need to make all those in the political ranks who are glad to huddle with him, then make it uncomfortable for them to be huddling with these kind of characters who have lost their morality and think that they can still walk around like it's okay. We, the people, need to focus on our most immediate targets. It is, as you mentioned, it is an international violation of the law. It's a violation of our Constitution, right. And it's inhumane to just kill people because you declare and we know what kind of characters are in the leadership of our White House, and there is no real leadership in the Congress. Most of them are just having verbal talk. Meanwhile, Trump is pushing every crazy ideology with his little mini me Trump, the little really demonic one that's thinking of everything. But I'm just saying, you know, not to get lost on it, but the fact is we need to look at our impact on local targets. And if we hit the president elected who are representing us, it also sends a message back through the community that if you're running for these office, we're setting the value line on how you have to engage us. You don't just get our vote and run off and then have your for sale sign when you get away from us. Anyway, I'll stop there. But
can I piggyback off of that, actually? Because I think that's so many great points. I think it's so important to hold our Democratic members to a standard. I think that we have to really focus on flipping rural areas and getting those to change. I know a lot of people in the South towns don't think they can ever get rid of Nick Langworthy, but he's incredibly unpopular. And one thing that we find, you know, especially as we get more involved, is that we truly do have friends everywhere, and we are not alone whatsoever in our thinking. The other thing is, local politics is the easiest and fastest way to see change, and there's not many people that are involved in it, and that's something that we're doing out in Cheektowaga with trying to stop the Cheektowaga Police Department from colluding with ICE, which is something that they do more than any other agency. They make up 2/3 of the arrests where local police departments assist ICE. And out of the 8 counties that make up Western New York, 83% of these people have no criminal record. They're the least likely to commit violent felonies. So we have all of this data that supports that this is not logical. It's a waste of our resources, all of these different things. And we've petitioned the town board. We most recently had an entire blue sweep in our election, and before it was a Republican majority, and now we're getting emails back in support, and we're going to be packing the chambers tomorrow at 5:30. So these are all actionable things where maybe you're scared to go to a protest, but this is your First Amendment right to petition your government and to hold these people responsible, because at the end of the day, they work for you. So that's something that I think more than anything, we really have to pay attention to, we still have to be calling our reps, even if they're Dems. We have to make sure they're trying to do the same thing. I hate calling Tim Kennedy's office. I asked them why they take money from APAC once, and the woman asked me what it means. I said, you don't know what this means, that you're taking all of this money on, or are you quizzing me? That's not your job. Like, they need to understand they work for us. We need to hold them to a standard, and we need to be united in that because we have the power and we have to use it. It's too important of a time in our history for us to comply in advance or relinquish any single right.
So I want to highlight, before we go around again, I just want to highlight what you said and go back to it because I know that this is live streaming right now on Monday the 12th. It's 1 to 2 p.m. live streaming and radio broadcast and all of that. So now if you would give people the exact opportunity, you know, when they should go, who should go, what they can do tomorrow being the 13th, at what time, and all where it is, all of that, if you would.
Yes, and thank you for giving me the opportunity because I know I go way too fast sometimes. Let me slow it down.
That's all right.
We're going to pack the chambers in Cheektowaga tomorrow, Tuesday, January 13th, at the Cheektowaga Town Board meeting. It's at 5:30 p.m. Public comment is available at the beginning and the end of the meeting. You can speak for up to 3 minutes. And we're going to be asking them to stop colluding, the CPD to stop colluding with ICE. And we're also going to ask the town board to pass a resolution in support for New York for All, which will help it get passed overall on a state level. And that's something that every single person can do in their towns, across the area, across the state. Go to your town board members and let them know this is important. We've been doing an email campaign since the last town board meeting that was on the 2nd. In response to CPD's collusion, letting them know the people are with you ending this. Like, you have our support. You guys are Democrats. Let's run on our values. Let's get this done. So it's just continuing to keep our foot on the pedal until we see the results that we want to see to protect our rights and the rights of everybody within our community.
Very good. So we're excited about that, and that is a corollary to this whole campaign, really, because one of the big things of stopping government sponsored violence means stop cooperating with ICE. They are acting illegally. They are wearing masks. They're hiding their identity. They're just taking people off the streets. They've been allowed through the really criminal decision making at the Supreme Court, that they've been allowed to take people on the basis of their appearance, on the basis of what language they're speaking. This is really just racism, you know, gangbusters. So Jim, go ahead.
It's all of that, and there, in all that is happening now, there are those who still see pathways forward for the people. And the challenge for us who do is how to, as you teach those who are newbies coming along, as you teach them and get the ones who have been around a little while to show up, to get them to move a little higher, that is what we have to do. It's one of those moments that they're like people, a lot of folks say, oh yeah, I was at the rally on so-and-so time. And oh yeah, I went to that one. And that's good that you can be there. But the charge to them is to take the do what needs to be done from that rally. When they say, here's what needs to be done, you need to call your congressman. To get them to keep teaching that to it, because the newbies need to keep hearing it. The old ones will kind of like, I do that. The challenge we have that I think we have with the older one is, people get into that, oh, I already know that. It's the same. It's like they like to tell you speaking to the choir. And we, as those who see the way forward, like my approach when dealing with folks like that is to say, yeah, well, I know a lot about choirs and teams. Every choir I've been on has rehearsed over and over the same song. Right. And every team I know practices over the same play. And the point is to, you can never absolute when you might miss a link or have forgotten a particular piece that's important. So practice is important. BPO, the folks show up all the time with their instruments through the week practicing. Same things they do all the time. So we have to be prepared to push back against those kind of folks. Then at the same time, there are those who are in our areas who are on another planet who like to say, man, ain't nothing gonna change. We got to. They become the ones to try and Piper weak ears away that like to just talk a lot of stuff. We have to challenge them. We don't have to challenge them to their face, but we have to tell people with the ears who are listening. So I'm telling you the truth, who you want to believe, because the reality is it's on you here, be in the gathering, who are hearing, to do something. This is not about entertainment. It's about entertainment. And that's what we get people to understand at every rally, even at every funeral. In South Africa during apartheid, when folks would get killed in some of the most nasty ways, what did you see? They'd be going to the funeral, they had that casket on the shoulder, they be in a perpetual motion. Even the drum beat, everybody be, hey. What I'm saying is that this is the cycle of life. This is the cycle of life for struggle, and particularly in this kind of struggle, when you see what those who would be evil are doing. Even if you stand still, whether you hold a cross, a peace sign, or on your knees, they do not care. And so we need our folks move beyond the emotionalism. In some of our meetings, we need to have meetings sometimes where we invite people, you know what? We've been scratched. We've been wounded in some of these things. We've been disappointed in some of the actions we see. Sometimes we need to have a moment where everybody just, take them to, go outside.
They did that in Rochester. They had a protest where everyone screamed at a lake, and I was like, I would do that. That sounds cathartic.
That's stuff. Do you know that's akin to PTSD? Because when crap is going down and that stuff, when it come out, you push it back. You push it behind the nice box. And the more you push back there, at some point it's going to break on you. And it can make you think that you're not doing enough. But it is that we're doing enough. We're doing so much that we can take these licks, that we can stand in the face of such stuff that say to our ears and know we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing. But that's part of self-care. And these are the deeper things we have to teach people, because look, we're not 100% perfected. So that means at some point in time, we're going to be on the wrong side of an issue. And we need to be able to hold each other up, be like a ring around each other. You can bounce off the ring, but we won't let you fall out of it. That's what we're trying to build. You're in a terrible housing situation, healthcare, what is it? You got a court case. You need somebody to walk with you. People need to know they're really not alone. But we got to teach them, you too must be honest. This is the only way it works.
Right.
That's hard. Right. A lot of people come to you because you're nice. And we got to be able to tell them it's not just because I'm nice. As nice as I am, I'm even worse for those who undermine or, double cross me. So you get it? I mean, right. We got to be strong.
Yes. We do. Now, actually,
and all of us can't do it, I know, because we have to be smart too as we help move people through it. And my last comment would be, I'm doing shoulder work. I'm so elated and in another zone because of the generation like Jess and those behind. Look, they learned everything we learned, but they learned it and they take it to heart. They've had the greatest interaction with each other. That's why they can deal with immigration so well when they got parents that, oh, don't you? I'm just saying, look, they bring the Jews and we need to hold them up and walk with them, not let right. them walk alone.
We're all needed. No question. Yeah, you're so right. Thank you, Jim. And actually, so I want to ask you too, Jess, another thing that you mentioned, and I'll just give you the chance to just tell people what is the New York for All Act, if you want to
So the New
mention.
York for All Act is legislation written to help protect the rights of, I mean, everybody in New York, but specifically migrants. It has verbiage in it about not sharing information with Customs and Borders Patrol or DHS. It has information in it or guidelines in it about immigrants
Not
being given information on their rights before being turned over to DHS or and ICE, and just a bunch of different things like that, where really it's kind of trying to lock in and protect what we've been constitutionally granted to us, you know, but as we can see with what DHS and ICE and CBP is doing, they're really infringing on and um, risking our rights, our civic rights and our human rights, even in Cheektowaga. You know, a lot of people are paying attention to what's happening in Minnesota right now, and it's incredibly important. But we need to also be aware that this is happening in our communities, and if we don't stand up and put an end to it, it's only a matter of time until the violence ends up happening here as well. And that's not something I think any of us want to see. And we're desperately trying to work with different towns. And I know that there's initiatives in North Tonawanda also on this. And I know that Mayor Ryan has expressed support in not collaborating or colluding with ICE. But it is so, so important because this could be us, you know, and we've seen Renee Good is not the first person who's been murdered by ICE. And unfortunately, I highly doubt that she will be the last. So we really have to take action immediately and keep fighting it.
So, you know, and I think you used a very key element when you said, um, you know, about not collaborating, because that's the biggest thing is to get the state and county organizations not to collaborate with ICE or
Yeah.
DHS or any of that. And I want to mention that we have had people out in front of the ICE offices at the Delaware North building on
Yes.
on uh,
They have a
Brigade.
facility
The
at
day that
250 Delaware,
yeah,
and then there's also one in Batavia, local for us.
so there is also, yes, there's Batavia. But meanwhile, we've also been, you know, at downtown Buffalo, 250 Delaware on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then there was something at Bidwell and Elmwood on Saturday at like 2 to 5. And then there's talk about we're going to try to have a regular vigil there for a couple of hours a day as well as we can, you know. And meanwhile, I want to say not only is there that going on, there's also the second piece after our gathering that we hope everyone will come to on Saturday, the 17th at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. for an hour, which will be right in the square or possibly on the city hall steps, depending on the weather. But I don't think we'll have an actual march unless we march around the square. But we'll have speakers and singing and you know, and information to share about people, you know, how to contact your Congress people, and also all the different events we have coming up after that. So the first one is the 20th, which is Tuesday the 20th. Tuesday, January 20th, there's a walkout for Free America walkout. I want to mention, as you said, Jess, and Jim, also you said it too, is the way they're coming after people. So they're coming after the people they can get away with it first because of racism, because of maybe, you know, not having all of your ducks in a row in terms of paperwork or anything like that, or just people who appear to be different. And so the more, so they're just going along with the people, and the more, you know, it's the thin end of the wedge. So they start with refugees and immigrants, but then it'll be the trans people, and then it'll be, you know, the trade unionists, and then it'll be the socialists, and then it'll be the activists, and then it's the Martin Niemöller thing. So they're going to come after all of us once they see that just there's no holds barred, there's no law, there's no need for probable cause, and there's all kinds of lying by the government. So anyway, so that at 2 p.m. on Tuesday the 20th is this walkout. Walk out from wherever you are. Maybe you walk out at 1:30 so that you can be in Niagara Square at 2 p.m. for this walkout that's led by the Women's March, that is, national walkout on that day. And then the next thing after that, we have on the 22nd. That's just 2 days after that. There'll be a teach-in at 10:30 a.m. at the Western New York Peace Center, and then after a short half-hour teach-in, then we're going to travel together or separately to so that people can carpool if they want to rally at Nick Langworthy's office. So that's the next one. Then the Latin American Solidarity Committee on the 26th, that's Monday, the 26th of January at 7 p.m. Jim is going to be a speaker there as Peace Action National co-chair and also Peace Action New York State. And we also hope to have some of the students from Peace Action Niagara University, and certainly from it's held at Canisius University, in the Science Hall. So that is another event, and that will be, a couple hours of coffee house, light refreshments, and especially, a great panel to talk about what's going on, and what we can do about it. And I just don't want to move on without also mentioning, people think, well, we're talking about two kinds of state-sponsored or government-sponsored violence. So there's the outward ones that are the military buildup, the fact that we spend more on our military than the next 10 countries combined. So about 40% of all or more of all of the military expenditure is by the United States. So many, many times more than Russia, China, North Korea, England, anybody, the next 10 countries all put together. So people think, well, that doesn't really affect us. No, that really does affect us, because that is the money that we need to take care of people's needs, to take care of the climate catastrophe going on, all those resources, all that time and energy and money, and resources that are needed for people on the planet is going to blowing people up and is a giveaway to the war profiteers. So it does affect us mightily, besides the fact that as we said, that violence is both outward directed and inner directed right here at home. So through the police and the carceral system, the prison system and all of that, where we will have Jerome Wright on Saturday talking about that kind of violence, talking about Robert Brooks' murder that was captured on tape, that was seen, that there's a dozen people walking by back and forth. No, they did not flutter an eye as this man was beaten to death for no reason, sentenced, beaten to death. And nobody even seemed alarmed to notice it. That just says what an everyday kind of thing it is. So the state-sponsored violence or government-sponsored violence is just hurting us in so many ways, especially when there's a gangster at the helm. So I want to give whoever wants a crack at the next thing to Jim. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you for sure. You might as well start getting prepared this week, being that soon you'll start seeing those who'll be talking about Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King, right, and everything, which is good, but they will need to understand revolutionary, forward-moving, progressive thinking of where Dr. King was that they don't talk about often. He would still be here today calling for us to have these different hierarchy places dismantled. I often think of, when I think about people who are in their faith walk, I often think of a modern day Moses. We need the modern day Moses going up to the houses and buildings of the pharaohs saying, let the people's money go, and and taking some action. We also need to be having people do something like that often, every day. Right now, we need to show people little things that they can do. Those things that they do will help take off some of the frustration they feel, because if you feel like they want to knock somebody out, there's an appropriate way in this moment. Ain't no use of the people playing like we Superman. We can throw down. Don't follow nobody that's gonna tell you that. Just know that force is much greater than our individual selves, and our collective selves together are going to turn this thing around. It's really about believing and seeing it done even before it's done. That's going to be a challenge for some people, but we have to keep getting people to be that way. Do you believe that you have a right to be free to breathe, free to live? If your money can go anywhere, why can't people go anywhere? If you believe that's a right, then come with us. We're going to move that wall that is blocking us. We're going to open that door. And we show them how to do it in the manner in which we engage. We don't fight like those evil folks are fighting, but our fight is not weak, that's for sure. And we just got to get people to really understand that. We don't know when it's going to be over, but the charge to us is for our time, for however long it will be, the show where we did some work, where we don't want to tiptoe through a line to say, did you see who? No, I never heard them. I've never seen them. We want to be people who are always pushing forward, trying to help somebody, trying to make it better. And that's what I see. I got to say one more thing, and because I really take it personal with all the young folks. That's who I flow with. And I don't mean young. I just everybody come about, oh, we got young people. Well, they've been here. They didn't just drop out of the sky. They done learned. They know more about those who are over them than those over them know about themselves. And plus, they're the bearers of the new knowledge, the new skills, the new energy, and they run in this world. The struggle right now is because of them, because of their energy, their wise, the wisdom, and the things that they create, and the way that we fight. So I'm just, I'm really, I'm in a good spirit. I feel good. I just feel good, and thanks, Jess, for being one of those warriors that really just infuse me with the energy to say, yeah,
You're so kind. I just want to say though, like, I have been doing this for less than a year. When I first started doing this, I was terrified. I got to my first bridge before any of the other people were able to make it. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm just going to roll this up and hope other people come. Build it and they will come. There are so many people who feel this, doom and gloom of this isn't the world I want for myself or my kids or my family. Do something about it. Just get out and do it. It's so much better to go and be there and have your voice be heard, even if it's maybe a little messy or rough around the edges at first, than to not use your rights. And, this is obviously a very scary time for a lot of us. We need to be showing up. We need to be standing up. We need to be helping each other and supporting one another. And we need to be really pushing to protect our communities and talking to the people in your family. Like, if you're, for lack of a better way to say it, if you're white like me, we have been so late to this party, okay? People of color and the Black community have been fighting this battle for a very long time. They voted, 92% of Black women voted for Kamala. They are not we need to focus on changing the minds and the hearts of the people who look like us. We need to talk to our family. We need to, talk to our friends. We need to get them to see how important this is and just how this can't be the type of thing that we can turn away from. Um, and okay, I'm getting off my soapbox.
Yeah,
Get involved,
thanks.
people.
No.
We need you. We need everyone. Everybody's got a job. Okay.
Absolutely.
But
And
that's what's needed.
there are so many different pieces needed. We are just coming around to really, the end of this show. I want to say, first of all, I am so grateful to both of you and to each of you, to all of you. Greg, with everything that you've got going on, that find it in your heart to go out of your way to produce this show, which is, we're so grateful. And Jim, all the work that you do on the national level, even international level, and certainly local and regional, just all over the board. You really make it happen. And Jess, also your wonderful energy and activism, especially in one of the areas where I'm going to say, Cheektowaga, like you pointed out so beautifully, is just very, very, very problematic about racism and, racist actions.
Which is
And
crazy for a
the
town called Cheektowaga, for the record.
right. 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 So we have, but I want to be sure that people are clear on getting the information so that you can get involved. So, first of all, the Western New York Peace Center, we are heading up this campaign. We're doing it with Buffalo United Coalition. They'll have all our information, but we are also putting it out on social media, putting it out in all kinds of different places, including our website. So, we want people to come. Please come on Saturday at 3 p.m. just for an hour at Niagara Square. We will be able to sing together, strengthen each other together. We're really building our ability to mass mobilize. So do check our social media. You'll get lots of information there. However, we have to be aware that the social media is run by people who are not our friends, largely speaking. So that could shut down at any time. So we need to keep our organic connections with each other, that we, back to, they could shut down the telephone system too, for that matter. Just finding those ways to communicate with each other in person, to find our ways around, to have our, it's just like in Nazi Germany, or before the fall of the Soviet Union. People were working in so many different ways, whether it was book clubs, underground newspaper, just all different ways. And I know we have our different groups. There's new groups being put together all the time, but we're stronger together, and that is why we need to work together. That's what we are doing. There's so many ways, and you both brought it out so beautifully, that different ways, either continuing to contact our elected officials and hold them accountable when they're, thank them for doing the right thing, tell them about how they're doing the wrong thing, demand that they stop doing the wrong thing, just as Jim was saying. And so come out this Saturday. We'll be sure that we're able to give you or send you all the information about this upcoming campaign. We're going to have gatherings, as I said, that's this Saturday, the 17th. Then on the 20th, there'll be the walkout at 2 p.m. And then Nick Langworthy's office, starting off at the Western New York Peace Center in the morning to 10:30 for a short teach-in, and then we'll carpool out there. And now there are a number of different, the 26th I mentioned, Latin American Solidarity Committee. Then there's another teach-in at the Peace Center, and the 28th will be together, going to Tim Kennedy and Kirsten Gillibrand's offices. And then on the 3rd, there'll be another gather at the Peace Center and then go to Chuck Schumer's office. That's the 3rd of February. And last but not least, which is not on this list yet, but we're in process. There's been a decision made. We're going to be working with Buffalo, the Sunni BDS, Buffalo Boycott, Divestment, Sanction. There'll be a Free Palestine rally on February 7th. So that will be at 1:30 at Bidwell and Elmwood. So that is coming up as well. So we've got all that going on, but I'm just so grateful to each one of you. Really, I can't say enough about what a great job you do for all of us. So thank you, Yahweh. So you could say no. We have to close it up. That's what I've not gotten used to doing. Yahweh.
No.
And so this is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love.